My name is Mr. Monroe, and we're going to be investigating the life cycle of plants. Okay? Um, they go through different stages of growing. I guess you might say how a plant grows from the very beginning to when its plant life ends and the different developments that it goes through. There are several questions that I want you to be thinking about as I go through my presentation. The first question is this: what are the structures of the life cycle of plants? Now, Ms. Ramirez and the other teachers have really mentioned a lot of parts that plants have, or structures that plants have. And those structures have different functions. All of them are very important to reproduction or the growing of new plants and the different stages plants go through. The other question that I want you to think about and be able to answer at the end is to be able to tell your teacher or let us know that you know what a seed is. Now, I'm going to do a short slide presentation, and as we go through that, there's going to be some words that is going to be explained to you, and I want you to try to remember those words. So bear with me while I get to that presentation. Plant life cycles. Well, we really want to get to the point where we understand how plants grow and reproduce, meaning making of the same kind of plants all over again. We want to also be able to recognize the cycles of different types of plants. This is going to be kind of an investigation. What do plants need to survive? Of course, the other teachers have shared that with you. Basically, they need food, water, and carbon dioxide, or food, water, and carbon dioxide. Now, that food is produced through a process called photosynthesis, okay, where they're going to use water and carbon dioxide to go through that process. And that has already been discussed with you. What does a seed need to grow? Well, we're going to learn about that too. So basically what that is, for that seed to grow into a plant, first of all, there's got to be some moisture or water involved. And then guess what else? Temperature is also involved. We'll talk about that. Now, these are some of the words that I know that you're going to have a hard time remembering, but you're going to hear these words probably over and over again when you're studying about plants, especially in the area of science. Let's start out by talking about a cone, and you've heard that. That is the structure in conifers that actually makes the seeds. Embryo, a young plant inside a seed. Flower, a structure in flowering plants that makes seeds. Fruit, that's the structure or the part that holds the seeds in some plants. Life cycle. Life cycle is all the stages in an organism's life, how it develops into being a grown-up or an adult. And then we come to pollen, which is a powder made by the male part of the flower or the male cone. Pollination, that is the process that takes place when pollen moves from the male part of the flower to the female part of the flower. And then, of course, the seed. And that is the structure or part that can grow into a new plant. How do plants grow? Did you know that when you eat corn, peas, nuts, you are eating seeds? Seeds come in all shapes and sizes, but all have the same function. And you know what that word function means? It's a job that it does to help that plant be successful, to live. A seed is a structure that can grow into a new plant. It holds a young plant that is ready to grow. This young plant is called an embryo. A seed has parts that help an embryo survive. It holds stored food, that the embryo will use to grow? It has a tough outer covering that protects that embryo. No, from seed to plant. When a seed is planted in the soil, it can germinate or begin to grow. Seed needs water, nutrients, and the right temperature to germinate. You know, we had that big freeze, that vortex, polar vortex, and boy, the temperatures were really bad, really low. During that time, I doubt whether that process germination would happen. Now, the embryo grows out of the seed. It grows into a small plant, which is called a seedling. A seedling can grow into an adult plant. And we can see through this image where it all starts. Starts from the seed, and we can see that that's showing the seed coat. And then when it goes through germination, it swells, yep, and then it busts open. And once it busts open, then we start getting a shoot that is trying to reach the top of the soil so that it can get sunlight. And then we have roots that are beginning to penetrate deep down into the soil, trying to get some more nutrients or some more food and needing water. And then eventually it becomes a seedling. And it's above the surface of the soil. And the roots have begun to spread out. And then from there, we get the adult. Now, Ms. Ramirez and the other teachers have gone over the different parts of the plant. They told you about the stem. They told you about the leaves. And they told you about seed pods. And then the flower that eventually will grow onto some plants. But look how the roots have spread out here, searching for water and nutrients, right? Same thing with trees. Starts out as a seed. Whoop, back that up. Starts out as a seed. And then the seeds with leaves. And we've seen that over in the post oak preserve where we have a lot of oak trees. You will see a lot of acorns that will have leaves, a little bitty stem and a little few leaves coming out. And then it becomes a true seedling. And then after that, it becomes a small tree. And then it grows into a smaller tree, but it's growing and getting bigger. And then eventually it's going to get big enough and old enough where it's going to either grow fruits, if it's a fruit tree, like our pear trees here at the center, or if it's an oak tree, then it's going to grow seeds in the form of acorns. You know, we eat a lot of fruits, don't we? And the animals that live in the post oak preserve, guess what? They eat a lot of those acorns that are produced by those post oak trees. Now, with a flowering plant, you know, flowers attract pollinators and make seeds that will someday grow into new plants. And of course, the other teachers have talked to you about the purpose or the function of the other structures, such as the stem, which supports the plant and carries water and nutrients up and down to all parts of the plant. And then the leaf, which actually is called the food factory. That's where that plant is making its own food with the use of sunlight, water, and carbon dioxide, the air that we breathe out. And it goes through the process of photosynthesis to make its own food. And then at the very bottom, we have the roots. They're hidden underground, but are very important to the plant. Roots hold the plant steady, anchor it. And it also brings in nutrients from the soil and water. And it sometimes can even store food for plants. How do plants make seeds? A flower is a plant structure that makes seeds. Plants that use flowers to make seeds are called flowering plants. Flowers make seeds. Flowers have pollen and eggs. When pollen and eggs come together, a seed can form. Wind may blow pollen from one flower to another. Bees carry pollen also. They drink a sweet liquid called nectar from the flower. The sticky pollen clings to their bodies. Then they carry it to different flowers, and thus pollination happens. Seeds also travel and move around in other various ways, and we call that seed dispersal. You know, sometimes people plant seeds, and I'm in the process of planting seeds in my little garden in my backyard. Also, the wind can blow seeds around. Like Miss Ramirez showed you the dandelion. A lot of students, a lot of children like to puff on those, I call them puff balls. And those little parachutes that go out, those are actually seeds. And then we have animals that will move seeds around. For example, a squirrel gets in the habit of storing food away in the form of acorns. He digs and buries them, and sometimes he forgets where he puts them, and guess what? He can't go back and find them, so guess what happens? They germinate and they become a seedling. Eventually, they become a tree. Now, I'm going to stop sharing my screen with you guys because I have my favorite plant that I want to show you. Bear with me. You know, we're coming up on Mother's Day, and I have my favorite plant. It's called Mother of Thousands. And I just got this plant not too long ago. It's a pretty plant. It is a type of succulent, and I'm trying to spin it around so I can show you why they call it Mother of Thousands. Now, another common name for this plant, they call it an alligator plant. Now, the reason they call it a Mother of Thousands, this one is just now becoming a true mother. All along these ridges, they're going to be little seeds growing, and I can see some growing already. Let me get one so I can show it to you. Can you guys see that? Now they will have thousands of these little seeds all along the ridges of these leaves. And wherever one of these little seeds fall, if the soil is moist enough and its conditions are just right, guess what's going to happen? There will be a baby Mother of Thousands plant grow. Isn't that something? Well, hopefully I've been able to help you kind of understand the life cycle of seeds. And I want you guys to have a good day the rest of the day. And